So what do you do when you've got about 4.5 feet of truck camper hanging off the back of your bed and you get a flat tire? There's no way to access the stock crank port where you put the extension in to lower the spare tire using the spare tire hoist. So I came up with a way to modify that spare tire hoist and spin it around a little over 90 degrees so I can access it from the passenger side wheel well. Let me show you how I did it. Alright, so behind the driver's side rear seat is where you remove this little retaining screw, and there's a case down here that has all your tools. Remove that. So brake tool out of the way. I use that to pop the little chrome hubcaps off of the wheels. This is the little tool kit. All your extensions, your lug wrench. This is the adapter key for the spare tire hoist. This has the adapter for your lug nuts, and then 2 long extensions to reach not only the jack when it's under the truck, but also the spare tire hoist. Okay, so the 2 extensions here, you've got this little pin. This is on the 1999, actually it's the 2003 through 2007 Super Duties. The 99 to 02 had a little bit different. It was before they went to the wheel lock adapter. They didn't have this until 2003. So normally you'd have to access that port in the back bumper using these 2 extension rods, and then this goes on the end like that, and then you would feed it through that port that I showed you on the back bumper, that little port with the gray ring around it. You'd feed that through, and the socket, this little socket here, would latch on to the nut that's on the spare tire hoist, and then you could turn it and drop the spare tire. Well, when you've got a truck camper on, or if you're towing a trailer, or if you've got a hitch rack or something like that, it's hard to get to that port. So by spinning that spare tire hoist to the passenger side, I have access in the passenger side wheel well to drop the spare tire. Alright, so the hole that you're going to have access, I'm on the passenger side wheel well here. The hole that you're going to access this hoist nut through the frame is right here. It's this oval one right here, the larger of the 2. So not this one or that one, it's this larger oval hole. And you can see down in there that gold nut, that's the hoist, the spare tire hoist nut, and that's what you'll latch that the end of that extension onto, and then we can lower the spare extension with the adapter there for that little locking nut, and feed it through that hole, and then you can just look between the bottom of the bed and the frame rail. You can see where this extension's feeding through, and you can latch it onto that nut there. So got it on the nut. We can just take our lug wrench that fits on the end of the extension, and you can turn it. Alright, so we're into the truck here. Got the spare tire dropped. This is the spare tire hoist mechanism, and this is the back of the truck. So this little port right here that you can see, this is on the back bumper, and this is where you would normally feed that extension pull through to get to the spare tire hoist. When this spare tire hoist was facing toward the back when it was stock, where you would normally reach it from this back bumper. The mounting holes were here and here, so there's 2 bolts. What I did was I undid the bolts and I just turned the hoist a little more than 90 degrees, so it was pointing out the passenger side wheel well. And then I marked those locations and drilled 2 new holes. So this one here and this one here are what hold the hoist into place now. So threaded these bolts into the spare tire hoist, made sure it lines up correctly to that hole that I'm using to access the hoist through the frame. And I did that just by running the extension pole through the frame and then lining it up with the bolt when it was still free on the hoist. So once you get the holes drilled, you can just bolt the hoist back in place and run the spare tire back up, and you're pretty much all set to go. And I'll just show you how easy that is right now. I'll put the light on so you can see the side of this hoist, the spare tire hoist there. So it's mounted with the 2 bolts there and there, and this is the extension pole that comes from the wheel well and fits right onto that socket there. If I can pull this off, you can see the little bolt, the security nut that's on the spare tire hoist. Start running it up here. And then just make sure everything's seated properly up in there, that it's sitting up in there right. Okay, so that's it. It's a pretty easy mod. It took me about an hour, maybe an hour and a half to do, just lining everything up and then drilling the holes and making sure that that hoist was lined up properly to that hole in the frame. You don't have to do anything to that existing hole that's in the frame. It's the perfect size for that extension rod to go through, and it's just so much easier to access the spare tire from the passenger side wheel well than it was through the back bumper. Actually, I have no access through the back bumper port in the stock position when you've got a truck camper on. And anything that's longer than like a 10-foot camper, you're just not going to have access to that because it's going to be covered by the overhang of the truck camper. So if you've got a luggage rack or a bike rack or something like that on the back, it's just hard to access with it on the back bumper. So in my case, it was a necessity to move it over to the passenger side, angled to the passenger side. It's so much easier. I've seen people on the side of the road trying to change a spare tire when they've got a truck camper on, and they've actually had to lift. They've had to undo the tie downs and lift the camper high enough to where they had access to the spare tire hoist. And that's not only is it dangerous, but it's super inconvenient, time consuming, and just a straight up pain in the butt to do. So this little mod just gets rid of all that. It's so much easier. Hopefully you don't have to use it, but if you've got a truck camper and you get a flat, you're gonna have to access that spare. So there you go. Anyway, hopefully this video helped, and if you guys have any questions, leave me a comment in the comment section below, and I'll try to answer them as soon as I can. And I'll see you guys all in the next video. Later.